student at Arcadia University in creative writing. It's my professor right here, Professor Sarge. And this piece is a piece that was published about a year ago in a magazine called HotHouse. And it's actually just a scene exercise of exploring how different points of view can drastically change the way a story is told. So, not a full plot, but it's a neat scene exercise. So it actually shifts character to character as the scene goes on. So this is called They Come Marching. Jack. I move out from behind the blue paper curtain, and the glare from the military issue wall clock, roughly the size of a wagon wheel and fixed to the wall just below the ceiling, makes me have to adjust my glasses. The same paper curtain sections off pieces of the enormous circular room in more than a dozen other places, making the chamber a hive of semi-private recovery spaces. Doctors are shuffling across the expanse without looking up, absorbed in clipboards and writing orders to waiting interns and various RNs and LVNs, all trailing behind like baby ducklings. I walk across the room, weaving between lab coats and scrubs to reach my next patient for the shift. As soon as I put my body through the opening in the curtain, I know from the delicate, rotten fruit scent hanging above the bed that an infection has taken root under the man's skin graft. If he weren't so strongly affected by the painkillers, antibiotics, and various other fluids pouring through his IV, I know he would be suffering. The border space where the man's wounds meet the graft shows that it's not taking. The slight little valley where skin won't quite meet skin is sticky and angry looking, making a bumpy wet circle around his chest. I go about my duties, noting the progress of the graft on the chart. Before I can replace his dressings, I have to clean out the exposed flesh. When I set down my bag of disinfectants and gauze and other supplies, I notice the ants again. In a military hospital, everything is seen in terms of wars. If life can't be won or lost, it can at least be stabilized, triaged, evacuated, etc. For the last 4 months, this hospital has been fighting 2 wars. The first was always understood to be the never-ending war against infection. The attending doctor had told me in my first week that most patients that die here don't die of what they came in for. They die of subsequent infection. The war never ends, he said. The new war was with the ants. A civilian hospital would be too concerned with malpractice suits to stay open, but I had my orders, and every week I cleaned out and refilled the coffee tins all the bedposts sat in with fresh poison. So far, this had kept the ants from crawling up the posts, but I didn't feel good about it. I forced myself to look away from the crawling trail under the bed, saying in my head that it's just a delicate line of hair, and to tell the floor janitor to sweep. The fruit smell comes a little stronger as I clean out the border around the graft on the man's chest. Most would expect a smell of meat if they saw an image like this. Such a meat smell would tell me decomposition, more a sign of something like gangrene. Infection is lighter, sweeter, generally more like an old fruit drawer. The shuffling of the doctors outside the thin curtain, mixing with the scent of infection and preservative antiseptic, gives me a vague feeling of nostalgia for country stores I bought candy from as a boy. I let my mind drift with the memory for a moment before moving on. Timothy. Line is unbroken. Brothers behind me and brothers ahead. Feet say the tile is sticky, sugared. Hormonal chemicals inside me excite, and I get ready to exude a cloud, announcing, I am so dizzy. Soon I will announce my victory. My head leans close, forehead flexes 2 long noses. Brain buzzes that it's only a bit of dry tea, not the smell we came for. Move forward, move on. I come to the wall and my front 4 legs reach up to grip as my brothers ahead of me have, and my brothers behind me will. The pain is rough, grip strong, and my view is wide from the wall as I crawl up, up. I see the dead brothers from the first attempt at securing the source. clustered around the bedpost, peppering the coffee cans full of poison. The lesson was hard won, but well valued. The line does not break now. Not a single brother moves towards the poison baits. They keep to their places. The trail pushes on, slowly but with purpose, along the wall, forward, onward. A man, existing in the room as a vague shape without detail, as all mountains seem from a distance, comes slowly to a full stance, and then walks through the hanging paper. With him go the strong scents of soaps and salves that have been clouding the signals from my long noses. The smell of the goal comes stronger now, clearer, a sweet, sugary scent like putrefied fruit. Lead brother reaches the next step of the plan. I watch him stretch his front legs out from the wall and touch down on the clear bag of water on the long metal hook. With his lead, I am determined anew. The brothers move together, throwing off small puffs of victorious hormones. I reach the end of the path along the wall and extend the front section of my abdomen across the gap, through this grip of the wall paint and the slick plastic of the bag. Feet tell me to grip hard. The new floor is slick and too clean. I move down the bag, carefully. Down, down. In turn, I reach the long hose attached to the bottom. Brother pushes behind me, but I hesitate. I can see it's very far. With a small movement of air, I'm hit with a pure cloud of scent. My long noses fire and spark, and I almost fall. My head is straight. I'm hungrier now than I've ever been, and I've already begun to move down the hose. It's not so scary as I thought. It's only moving forward, moving on, moving, moving. Nathaniel. My head feels damp, swollen with medicine, and I can't open my eyes. The light still pushes through them, blinding and fluorescent, always bzzzt all around me. I first try to orient myself inwardly, figure out how long I've been here, but everything swims, including my thoughts, and I fade. Swish scratch, shuffling shoes wake me again. The din of voices speaking medicalese has become white noise, almost inaudible, but the shuffling walk always stands out, like sandpaper against plastic. It's accented with mindlessly violent writing on clipboards. Scratch, scribble, scratch, rip. Scratch, scribble, scratch, rip. I listen for my own breathing under the sounds of the room, but I don't hear it. The only sense that rises above the various prickling noises is the overwhelming tactile sensation. The liquid in the IV masks much of what I should be feeling, but I feel the liquid itself pushing into my arm, ice cold and giving my veins too much thickness. From my chest I still feel the same crushing ache, the same pulsating, radiating soreness. The only difference in this moment as compared to those I'd drifted in and out of before is the vague smell of food in the air, like jam or pie. A tickle on my arm draws my attention fully. I feel as though a series of hairs are standing on end in a trail at my side. Like so many times before now, I attempt to lift my arm or shift my body, and the movements are futile. As the hairs move to my armpit, I exhaust myself, trying to move in any way I can. I feel sweat form on my temples, matting my hair, dripping behind my ears. I fight to summon the energy. All I have goes into one action, but the strain of the effort has my mind sharper and more present than it has been in what seems like days or weeks. In what must appear from the outside to be a pathetically weak gesture, I limply bob my head forward, tilting my face towards my chest. I focus all my will to pull my eyes open for the first time since my arrival here. If not for the sudden presence of mind this odd sensation has brought me, I doubt I'd be able to do it. But the lids stretch slowly, and after long moments of painfully blinding light, shapes around me come into focus. I look down into my left arm, where I first felt the sensation, and it looks like tiny bits of dirt are crawling up the crook of my elbow. My heart is beating faster now, panic clearing my head. My eyes move deliberately and slowly to the bandages around my chest. A swarm of prickling brown trails is leading under the white bandage at every angle. I never think to try calling out, but I can hear an animal whine come from somewhere deep inside my throat. I follow the border of where skin meets bandage, trying to break down the event into something understandable. A twitch draws my attention to a lump on a spot of skin just above the bandage. I refuse to believe, refuse to think, as the twitching lump moves under the skin like a tiny burrowing mole. Before my vision darkens again, I watch more lumps emerge from under the bandage, following the first in a studded line.